community is the compass, built not of sameness, but of voices varied and vibrant, stitched together in a quilt of care and resistance. Let difference be our strength, not our division.
Well, good afternoon. How you guys doing this evening? Of course, my name is Kendall Stevenson. Of course, I'm always with my brother, the analyst, and that would be Mr. Ronald Yates. This evening, we're doing something a little different. I tap. Well, hold tap, brother, man. I say, I'm trying to get the two words and mixing them up together, making it one word, but it's all good. Today, we're going to do a little something different. We discussed that earlier. We got Miss Linda Zach. Say hello.
Hey, hi.
Okay, and she's out of Monroe County. She's a Democrat. She's with the Democratic Party of Monroe County. You also hold the title now, I understand. Is that correct?
Well, I've been a committee person for years.
But you have another title, don't you?
Well, I used to be auditor, but they ran a Republican. So in Ross Township, you know the outcome before they even got the count.
Okay, well, that's Linda Zach, and that's a good way to introduce her. As we were discussing, we were talking about some of the issues with ICE. Now, I've been watching them videos, and those guys are horrible, man. I just want just to get back to it. I remember last week we were talking about the young lady who I'd say is murdered. I guess we're not supposed to do that. Yeah. You're not supposed to do that on the air. Let me make sure I pop up that disclaimer so we don't have that issue. Oh, yeah.
The legal lawyers.
Oh, the legal lawyers. You got to use the legal stuff. So, that young lady to me was murdered. And I know you were talking about that possibly she may have been turning towards him, or he may have thought that she was going to tap him with the car. I've been reading some of those rules under the ICE. And one of the rules under those ICE organizations, they're not supposed to walk in front of a moving or in front of a vehicle.
Duh.
Now, this officer came from behind the vehicle, walked on the side of the vehicle, then walked in front of the vehicle. Okay? And as the vehicle started to move, I guess he got scared, or he just felt like John Wayne. For those who don't know John Wayne, he used to be a cowboy back in the day. So, and shot through the window, stepped to the side, 2 shots in the side of a car. And if that doesn't, the first shot, I might even say, yeah. That second and third shot, I'm sorry, man. His life was not in danger. So I want you to comment on that for
me. Well, my background is in law enforcement. So, one of the things you want to do as a police officer, you always want to put yourself in the best tactical position possible. When you walk up to a car, for the most part, you want to approach from the driver's side, and you want to stop just about where, if it's a 4-door vehicle, you want to stop just about where the doors meet, right? So that you are at a position where the driver would have to turn to respond to you, right? Or if the driver were to produce a weapon, hopefully you see the weapon swinging around in your direction and you would have time to react. So you always want to use the best tactics available. Walking or positioning yourself in front of a car is never a safe tactic. In fact, you're putting yourself at risk by doing such, right? That's number one. Now, typically, I know with a lot of departments, the department I was employed by, you are not allowed to use deadly physical force against a vehicle if the sole object used against you is the vehicle. In other words, if someone in the vehicle has a firearm, certainly you can fire into that vehicle because that poses an immediate risk to you. With the vehicle coming towards you, if you have an avenue of escape, you should take it before you resort to deadly physical force. Because once you shoot and incapacitate that driver, now you have a 3,000-pound missile going down the street. And it could be a school, pregnant women, anything on the sidewalk, right? So for the safety of the public, it is not prudent to shoot into a moving vehicle. Now, in this case, The first shot was fired and it struck the front windshield. The second two shots, I don't think there's any dispute that these shots were fired from the driver's side window, and that the point of entry or the entry wounds would be on the left side of her head or left side of her body. That being the case, and I mean, clearly that appears to be the case. If there was a fair and honest postmortem examination and those wounds are on the left side of her body, then it is difficult for the officer to justify resorting to deadly physical force when that car no longer poses a threat to you. You are now on the side of that vehicle.
So here's a question I'd like to pose to you. Right after the shooting, I guess 48 hours, right after the shooting, Trump comes out, Pam Bondi comes out, domestic terrorists, constantly with that, just pushing that out there. I mean, can they legally do that?
Well, can they legally?
I mean, they didn't even have an investigation. They stopped the state from having any type of investigation. So they impeded any investigation that would have went forward by the local police department, right? Or the local justice department. They stopped that right away, right? Then they took all the evidence, moved that over to the Justice Department or whoever takes care of it, and they kind of swept everything under the rug. And then they put out the domestic terrorists, and they telling people, well, he has immunity. So are they telling us that we have immunity, that the ICE agents have immunity to walk up, pop you in the head a couple of times and keep it moving? I mean, isn't that going to lead to some sort of like civil war, man?
Well, you have to understand that many members of law enforcement have qualified immunity. So if you are acting within the scope of your employment and you fire your weapon and someone is wounded, in some cases fatally wounded, you have qualified immunity. Now, if you are operating outside the scope of your employment, or there is an act of malfeasance, or in this case, where you shoot someone and that person did not pose a risk or a threat to you, then qualified immunity can be removed and you could be subject to criminal charges. Right. Now, in this case, for Trump,
that when you say threat, we're talking about imminent, something that fails. Right?
Right.
Okay. We're not talking about. So if a guy's across the street or he's 20 feet away from you, he pulls out a knife. Then are you going to kill him? You're going to shoot him?
Well, here's the thing, right? Studies have shown that if someone produces a knife, they can close the distance. Now, they've done studies and they said that a person can travel 21 feet in about 1.5 seconds. So at that point, that is an immediate threat to your safety. Once that knife is pulled, they can travel that distance in 1.5 seconds. So if you are not prepared, then you're probably going to end up being a victim. But going back to Trump and his statement that this victim, and that's what she is, was a domestic terrorist. Trump is doing what is known as CYA because it is Trump's policy, Trump's aggressive policy, to go out and arrest what he called the worst of the worst. This is not arresting people who have committed crime. This is just a roundup. In many cases, American citizens. And this woman was unquestionably an American citizen. This woman lost her life. Trump now has to find ways to justify or give some rationale for what happened. So he's going to say she is a domestic terrorist. What terrorist activity has she been involved in?
She had teddy
Who
bears.
did she threaten?
That's what it is. She had stuffed animals in her glove compartment, and she had a little dog that made her dangerous. She was dangerous.
Right.
She was a felon. You got to watch out for her. Okay. Now, some people were bringing up the fact that she has a wife, right? No one knew that police officer didn't know any of that before he put 3 bullets in her. So, I mean, to him, I look at these guys, man, the ICE agents, I look at them as the slave catchers. Remember back in the day when they had the police? This is what history has taught us, right? What did they do? They went out and round up all the slaves. Whether the slaves were free, whether they were free men, free people, or not. So what I think that we got going on, not so much as this Nazi stuff and all of that. I think it's the South, because if you look at after slavery with the Reconstruction, we never really changed any of the laws, and a lot of those white supremacists, they were allowed to work in covert, if you want to say. Now they're all out in the public, but back then they were doing it covertly. I don't think any of that's changed. I just think they came up with a plan. And it's just now becoming more and more. Every generation they're implementing something else and something else and something else. So now we got the Project 2025 written out for us.
Can I put a woman's opinion in
on,
here?
Yeah, Linda,
Okay.
please.
Well, this shooting of Renee Good was misogyny. This, you could see it. Those girls, the 2 women that were kind of taunting the guys, a little gently taunting them. You know, like, hey, big boy, why don't you go get some lunch?
Right.
That's not too vicious to me, not to my mind. But to these guys with their fragile macho egos, that was taunting. And they were pissed. And the reason I know that it was murder out of misogyny and anger was that as soon as that car took off and he shot her, he yelled, you blank, blank, blank.
Yeah.
That,
an F and B.
That was his confession. That was clear. This is why he shot her, because she was so this had nothing to do with law enforcement. And speaking of law enforcement, these guys aren't. These guys are a militia. These are Trump's militia.
Mm-hmm.
He has hired a lot of J6 guys and Proud Boys. And I contacted Rob Bresnahan a couple days ago, last week. And I have to get back to him tomorrow because I was demanding that he do a correlation. How many people from J6 that were pardoned are now hired by ICE? Because the list has been released. Somebody leaked the list of all the ICE employees. So it can be done. And I want to know what that is. And I'm calling him tomorrow to say, did you do your homework? We have to know this. This is really critical. Because this is definitely Trump's militia. These are not law. They're not law abiding, so they can't be law men.
So someone
you know what?
Just wanted to know, ICE, are they being backed by Congress, or how are they receiving these funds? They've already received billions of dollars, and they keep saying they're going to put more and more money into this. Is Congress approving this?
Well, I know initially there was an appropriation, congressionally approved appropriation to raise their budget. Since then, there have been at least, I think there were 2 hearings where they brought Kristi Noem before Congress to explain some of her expenditures. Basically, she's spending more money than has been appropriated. And you mentioned two things I'd like to say. You mentioned the slave patrols, which was the first law enforcement agency in this country.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's an interesting correlation. Donald Trump said that this young woman, Mrs. Good, was a domestic terrorist. I guess the implication is that she deserved what she got. However, the Ku Klux Klan, which has terrorized people of color for generations, is a Christian organization that is registered as a 501c3 so that they can take donations and not pay taxes on the donations they receive. That's not terrorism. That is a Christian organization doing a Christian thing. She, who has never harmed anyone, never lynched anyone, never threatened anyone, never prevented anyone from going to the poll to cast their ballot, she is the terrorist. Now, in regard to what you said, Linda, about
women are dangerous to begin with to these people.
Well, with regard to what you said about misogyny, you have to understand something. There's always been a pecking order in this country. At the bottom of that pecking order has always been Black people. Slightly above the status of Black people was white women. If you think about it, in this country, it was white women that were burned at the stake. It was white women, right, that were denied opportunity. It was white women that never were able to pass the Equal Rights Amendment.
Still haven't.
So, still have not. So, what's interesting is
one more note.
You have,
sorry, not to cut you off. White women also were responsible for starting the affirmative action program.
Well, yes and no. That was supposed to be designed like Reconstruction, right? Reconstruction was supposed to rehabilitate the now free people. Well, affirmative action was supposed to be some form of rehabilitation for years of Jim Crow segregation. Well, it was open-ended. The legislation was open-ended, right? It did not say specifically for Black men, Black women. So anyone could take advantage of it. So now you find they call it the coalition now. You have white women, you have Black people, you have brown people, you have the LGBTQ community that's under one umbrella. But you have to keep in mind, right, that for white men, they really don't like white women too much, right? And it is demonstrated throughout the history of this country. And even today in the 21st century, white women are still not paid the same salary as white men. Now, why is that? When you say you love this woman, it's the mother of your children, your grandmother, your mother, your sister, your aunt, yet you don't want to pay her equally. And if you think about it, for women in this country that become pregnant, many jobs in this country penalize you for when you become pregnant. You have to use your own vacation time, your own sick time. And you have to be back punching the clock 8 weeks from the time that baby is born. You have to be back. That's barely enough time to bond. We don't take animals from the mother in less than 8 weeks or more.
Well, in this country,
but you're telling a human being,
humans, man, people care about the dogs and the whales and more than babies and humans. You see how they treat the elderly in this country, and you see how they treat
absolutely.
They want everybody to have a baby. Let's not have abortions. But once the baby comes, what happens then? Now that baby needs childcare.
Nobody cares then.
No, we can't. We don't have any money for that. Now that baby may need public assistance. No, because we got the welfare queen, and we got the fraud. So we got to kill the baby in the bathwater, throw it all out at one time. So we don't care about the elderly. Really don't care about the youth in this country.
Something he said about women being low in the pecking order. I'm older than you guys, both of you. Not combined, but I'm yeah. I'm older than dirt.
I just want to.
John Lennon wrote a song.
I want you to finish. But party people in the house, glad you guys are tuned in. We got another young man coming in. He does the Cuckoo for Politics. His name is Michael DeRosier. So we're going to bring him into the conversation. We're going to let Linda go ahead and finish what she needs to say and get it out there. But Michael DeRosier.
Hey, what's
going on? Michael DeRosier, how are you? Welcome
to the
everyone. Stage. How you feeling?
I'm doing good. Sorry for my little tardiness. Doing errands and stuff at the same time. But I love the fact that it's live.
It's all good. It's always good to have you here. As you can see, we're here with Ronald Yates and Linda Zach. So it's nice that you decided to join us, brother. Linda Zach was in the middle of saying something when you decided to join us. So I'm going to go ahead and let her finish it.
Well, John Lennon long ago wrote a song, and he used the N-word, and I won't say it, but I'll do the N-word. He says, "Woman is the N-word of the world," and everybody went berserk. You can't say that. You can't do that. You can't sing that. So he checked with, I think it was Roy Abrams back then, and he said, "Well, yeah, go for it. What makes you think Black people are N-words? It's like whoever is treated like dirt." that's that word goes for. And he goes, yeah, use it. But then the song, I don't think the song was ever released.
Well, all I
But
can
it was
say
accurate.
is everybody that's your skin folk ain't your kin folk. Now, some people don't mind being, they don't have a problem with being, let's say, you can go ahead and disrespect me and it's okay as long as I get paid $1 for it. Now, I'll tell you a little story about Michael Jackson back in the day. He made a song, and in the song, he used the word kite. Ooh, bad word, right? Bad word.
No,
Everybody understands.
not a good word.
Not a good word. Those Jews, they not only made him take the word out of the song, but they went to every record store. This is back with vinyl, right? And bought every record off the shelf.
Well, that worked out for him, I guess. In the
Well,
end.
no, I mean, he still ended up making a song, but he wasn't allowed to utilize that word. What I'm saying is,
How did he use it though? Because
it doesn't
saying
matter the
woman was the
concept.
N-word of the
To me,
world
to
was
me,
more.
a racial slur is a racial slur, and I don't care what content you
Do
put
you
it
think
in.
that's a slur the way John Lennon used
Yes,
it?
I think I don't care which way he used it, because he used it, made it a racial slur.
But I understand.
He made the word visible. You understand? And in order to kill something, in order to stop something from flourishing, you got to kill it. That means you can't use it.
Say it was okay then.
Because like I just said, all your skin folk ain't your kinfolk.
Oh, okay.
And some people are willing to allow things to go through to make $1, i.e., the beginning of gangster rap music. Okay? There were a lot of people that were against it. Black people, they were against it. But there was so much money involved in it. People put there and they said, okay, well, we'll do it for $1. Not like Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali, I got a lot of respect for him because he said, look, I don't care how much money you pay me. I don't care even if you take away my titles. I'm not doing it.
He's a good man. Yeah,
he was a man that stood up by principle. What you got to add to that, Mr. D?
Oh,
he looks so cool in his car.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. It's like a ghost.
There's I'm just trying to bring it in since I'm focused elsewhere, but I will say, you know, as far as people selling out, I think of like the Justice Thomas. I think of Byron Donalds from Congressman from Florida. I think of Senator Scott from Alabama. I even
South Carolina.
Oh, South Carolina. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, South Carolina. I think of there was a black man that was on the Tucker Carlson show that talked about how Martin Luther King. He compared Martin Luther King to Sean Diddy. I mean, these are people who sell out themselves only to gain fame or to gain notoriety. I mean, there's so many things, but they do sell themselves out. And I have a problem with people like that. You can have difference of opinion, but it's just people who sell themselves out for $1. But that's my thought on that.
Great, brother. Great, brother.
You know what I think? I think that John Lennon using the N-word in that context, I wouldn't have been upset by that. Simply because I think he used it in the proper context when he was relating to the struggle of women across the planet, right? In this country, we're supposed to be the beacon of democracy, right? Yet, right now, we have a president that says, well, look, if I don't get the Nobel Peace Prize, forget about peace, right? I'm going to take another sovereign nation by force if I have to, right? I think that John Lennon was a man of peace, a man, who talked about peace, talked about living in harmony. So I wouldn't be offended by him using it in that context.
Being the kikes of the world. I mean, if you want to talk about people that were, what do you call somebody that you can put down or look down upon, right? There are plenty of people that we could have looked down upon. He didn't have to utilize that word. There are plenty of racial slur. He could have said, well, just like the mix of the world or any other racial slur. Why choose that one? Because now because when you use that word, I don't care what context, everybody's going to bring it back to people that look like you and me. Always.
Well, you know what? By definition, that word does not have a color. It does not have a socioeconomic status, right? And that word can apply to many different people. Hell, I think that's what Trump is, right?
I never agreed to that. I never agreed to that. And I always said, because when that word was so-called invented, when the word come up, the only people they were calling niggers is people that look like you and me. It wasn't calling each other.
Okay.
But they were specifically designed. That word was specifically designed for people that look like you and I. Now, as the years went on, a lot of us, for whatever reason, we can't stop utilizing the word. It's like embedded in us. Then we come up with reasons to say, well, it's not really that word. We'll put an A at the end, as like we'll change it. But it's a psychological thing, man. It's like marketing. They planted it in your mind that this is what you are. Generation after generation after generation has had this drilled into their head. Now, you had, back in the day, you had the mother say, look at him, he's a little N, right? And the fathers, he's a little, so they kept passing it on and passing it on and passing it on. The cycle keeps going round and round and round. It's time to get off the merry-go-round. That word needs to be abolished. Serious. It needs to be taken.
Well, here's
to get rid of it. There's too much ramifications with that word that come with that word. Because
here's the thing.
I could kill a nigga. I pull out a gun and kill a nigga in a minute. But will I kill my brother in a minute?
Here's the thing.
I gotta kill my brother with a nigga? No, I'll pull a trigger on a nigga in a minute.
But here's the thing.
It's a big difference on how you approach it.
And what I've been saying is it's a matter of perception, right? However, here's the thing. Does that word by definition only apply to people that look like you and me? By definition, if you look up the word, does it only apply to people that look like you and me?
Okay, so
because by definition, it says somebody who is dim-witted, right? Are all black people dim-witted? It talks about sullen and dirty. Are all of us sullen and dirty?
Now that you added that context.
Here's my question. Who wrote it? Who wrote that definition in there?
Well, we know who wrote the definition. You can find that definition in Webster's.
It's not us that wrote that definition. Somebody else is putting that definition in there. And again, when was this time? Was it written? 1800s? So
probably in the 19th century or like the 20th century.
When they utilized that word, it was already understood and established who the hell they were talking about. If I said Mick, I ain't got to tell you it's an Irish guy, all right? I ain't got to tell you that. If I tell you he's a Guinea or a Wop, do I got to say, well, anybody could be a Guinea or a Wop? No, man, they're racial slurs and should not be utilized. And under any circumstances, there is no circumstances to me that word should be utilized. It's not talking about to be profane, to be profound, to be profane. That's not like that, man. That doesn't fit into that category. Not at all. Not to me.
I think we're past that. The question is, by definition, does it only apply to you and I? Can that word be used to describe others based on their characteristics?
Was it invented for that?
It has already.
It's not invented for that. Okay? And you can't tell me about the past. I hear you saying it's in the past. Well, the 4th of July was in the past. We still celebrate that, don't we? There's a lot of things in the past that we still bring up to right up here into the forefront. That should have been abolished years ago. You and I should not be sitting here having this conversation about whether it's okay to utilize the word or when it's okay. It is never okay to utilize that word, ever.
I never said it was okay. I never said it was okay to use that word. I said for John Lennon, in that particular instance, in that particular context, I would not be offended. I didn't say he couldn't. The word is okay to be used. I said I personally would not be offended in that particular context. Other contexts, perhaps, but that one, no, I would not be offended.
See, that's where we agree to disagree. Ashe?
Ashe.
To me, if you use that word, it's bad, man. I'm not. That's why they changed the name of the Redskins. So if a guy decided, hey, I'm going to sing a song about the Redskins in a certain content, it's okay. No, it's not okay.
I wonder if the women, if anybody asked the women what they thought of it then.
But what do you think about it?
Well, at the time I thought, and I listened to people talking about it, and I said, yeah, Yeah, I mean, I sure knew I was a second-class citizen for sure, because I'm a child of the 50s.
So you fit in the category.
And I grew up in the 60s.
So you fit in the category of a nigga?
No, not quite.
My point.
No, I had privileges you didn't have.
My point.
Exactly. But I just wondered what other women, what they thought of it. But I never asked anybody, so I don't know.
Because a nigga can never have white privileges. So how can a nigga be white?
Wait a minute. Hold on. You have to understand something. By definition, right? There's one race on this planet, the human race, right?
Yes, sir.
People that have a sickness, that have an obsession with skin color, created this whole subdivision that's saying, well, you're this and you're that. There's one human family, right?
Yes,
so that word, we have allowed it to become, I guess we've allowed it to degrade us, when in fact, that word can apply to many different people. We have many terms we use. We have terms we use to describe many people.
Exactly
right?
No, yeah,
but anyone can be used to apply.
When I asked her, "Can you be a nigga?" You know what she said? I got privilege.
Yeah, I have privileges.
So that's what she got, privileges that I don't got.
I know.
So she can't be a nigga.
Listen,
I'm not bragging about it. I'm just saying.
Here's the thing. Here's the fundamental.
I want my man to get into it too, because I see him sitting up there gloating. He got something to say.
I just don't know how it came about, this whole conversation, but
yes,
it's my fault. I'm sorry.
I don't know how it came up, and I'm aware of John Lennon. I'm aware of the Beatles, but I must admit I don't know their songs per se, so I couldn't even engage in that part of the conversation. As an artist, they tend to take pop culture and use it as, for their art form at that time. So, but to what Ron said about definition, I do hear even young white teenagers use that word amongst each other. If you're going by that definition, I will look at them. I'm like, that's not appropriate. But again, that's based on the terminology. But I agree with you what you said, Kendall. That word should not be used, and it should be abolished. But again, this is language it's here to stay. It's not going to go anywhere, despite our objection.
Well, I know I'm not the only one that have that objection, or other people that feel the way that I feel. I know that. I know that for a fact. I speak to people, and I'm going to tell you, most people I walk up to, if I speak to them and say, "Hey, you're a nigga," nope.
Of a certain
and
generation.
The people that I find that will utilize that word, and I don't mean to say it's a particular person or two, or try to pick on a particular group of people, are the ones that are not as educated. The ones that Trump calls he loves the poorly educated. And those are the ones that I find that utilize that word more. And the other ones that utilize it, that do have some, my man, Dr. Martin Luther King, I think he said, Jr., I believe he put it really good. There are those that are sincerely ignorant, and there's those that are conscientiously stupid. So we have those that know that they're doing wrong, but they do wrong because it puts money in their pocket. They say the wrong thing, even though they know what they're saying. They understand the influence of what they're saying, because they're not using the only context they utilize that word in is either some drugs, violence, or hypersex. All of those things go along with that word as well. And anytime somebody hears that word, the only people they look at and see are people that look like you and I. You got people that have never spent any time with other black people. I'd say about 75% of white people don't even know any black people. The only ones they know is what they see on television. You understand? And what do those kids put out there on television? Buffoonery. I don't want people to look at me and think that I'm a buffoon, because that's all that they see. Linda, how many degrees I got up on my wall?
A lot.
Yeah, a lot. I'm not an ignorant person.
Not at all.
I don't want anybody to look at me and think that way, because they look at me and they see a nigga.
Well, like, you know what?
Next subject.
Because I mean, realistically, we can argue this ad nauseum, right?
Yeah, we can do this all day long.
Yeah,
roll me back to politics, please. Roll me back to.
Okay, so let's go back. Let's go to our current situation with our president in Greenland. Now, right now, well, I think was it January 1st, the subsidy that was once known as Obamacare has been cut. I think over 20 million people lost their access to health care. Prior to that, Trump decided he was no longer going to fund foreign aid to certain countries, right? That was drastically slashed.
To black countries specifically.
Yes, U.S. aid was drastically slashed, right? Right now, the U.S. economy, even though Trump said that the prices are down across the board, people in this country are suffering, not able to put food on the table, not able to get basic staples. Yet, and I'm not quite sure how this works, yet Trump said he's going to buy Greenland. So I'm kind of curious, where's the money going to come from?
Well,
because
he can't.
Yeah, it's funny. No, you know where the money's going to come from, man. The same places always come from, our pockets, dude.
Yeah, but okay. If he now, there's a lot of things and variables at play, but in order to do from past examples of acquiring Hawaii, of acquiring what do you call it? What was it Hawaii? What's another?
Puerto Rico?
Alaska. Well, no, Puerto Rico was won through a war by the Spanish-American War, but I would say those are the last two states that, if you want to go back in the 20th century, that were acquired by the U.S. But in order to do that, it had to be congressional approval. There is no will in Congress, not even the MAGA Republicans. There's not enough of them to win over to give the U.S. government permission to do so. So right now, to me, it's all a distraction. And Ron said something about January 1st, Obamacare. I think the situation in Venezuela, the situation in Greenland, the rhetoric used to go after Nigeria, it is all a distraction from the real issues. So you're not focused on the cost of goods and services, as Ron mentioned earlier. But there's another thing about healthcare. One thing that's not known, but it's not talked about, is that Medicare even cut telehealth. So we know those who are recipients of Medicare, whether you have special needs or an older person, you would rely on telehealth to talk with your medical professional. Now that has been gutted as of June. So again, if you're focusing on Greenland, you're focusing on the invasion in Minnesota, you focus on these other distractions. It's here at home that we're losing benefits that we are accustomed to, rights and so forth like that. So this is all a distraction. Yes, is there a reason? I mean, even the European allies are saying, what are you doing? Because if you increase the tariff on us, we buy, as U.S. consumers, buy more foreign goods than other countries buy U.S. goods. So it's definitely going to make things more expensive. And I'll just give one little example. If you own the BMW and you get into you need a part to repair the bumper to an engine, that item is going to be significantly increased. That's what they could do. That's the retaliation with these tariffs. But this is 100% all a distraction from real life issues.
You know what? I disagree to some extent. Yes, there is some distraction value there, but I would say that this is something that has been planned for some time, right?
Yeah.
If you go back to the Bush administration, his vice president, Dick Cheney, right before we invaded Iraq, Dick Cheney sat down with the same oil companies that Donald Trump called before the abduction of the president of Venezuela. Well, Dick Cheney and these oil representatives, or these oil executives rather, they identified the remaining sources of fossil fuel left on the planet. During that time, one of the big ones was Iraq. Well, where did we go? Into Iraq, searching for weapons of mass destruction that we knew did not exist, because going back to the Clinton administration, Saddam Hussein was allowing the inspectors into the country to look for weapons of mass destruction. And before he ordered them out of the country, 95% of the inspections had been completed and they found nothing. So this is something that has been brewing for some time, right? If you go back to prior to the Bush administration, to the Clinton administration, there was a plan then called the Project for a New American Century. And that plan kind of morphed into what we have now, Project 2025. The original plan.
War in that?
Good, Linda.
Well, that called for endless war
against Iran, Iraq, and North Korea. And they said,
yes, it did.
We lack the justification at this time.
Mm-hmm.
So they got to wait until they could create a justification, and boom, there they go.
Right. So while there may be some distraction value, this is about the original plan to control vital resources, to deny other countries access to outer space where they could use space-based weapons or satellites, spy satellites that could monitor U.S. operations on the ground. So this is this continuation of that plan that started back in the 80s. We are now
I would even go further back.
Sharp competition with China.
Mm-hmm.
China has 70% control of 70% of the world's rare earth minerals. We do not want to have to deal with China. So that's one of the reasons why we want Greenland, not just for the strategic value, because they know under the ice is a wealth of rare earth minerals. But how do you get to them? Other countries have tried and have been unsuccessful. Trump, because he's Trump, he can do it.
Mike,
he could get $1 million a day.
Right. Mike, you had a comment for us? Mike?
No. I was saying, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. All I was saying is that the plan that you mentioned, this is even before Bill Clinton and Ronald Reagan. You could talk about how we got into Iran and used a puppet, the Shah of Iran. That was all us, because of British and British and American interests in the oil and the resources that these foreign countries have. So yes, I'm not knocking that these are not of interest. But it's also another a means of distraction.
Well, I think a lot of the distraction also is from that, what do you call the files, or the Epstein files? I think a lot of the distraction, starting the wars, going to wars, doing all of these things, was so that it distracts us from the Epstein file. Now, with this Epstein file, I mean, what are they going to find out? Because most everything there is redacted, right? So
yes.
What is it that we plan to find out? And if we do find out something, what can we do about it?
The fact of the matter is,
the man was a pedophile. Let's find that out. So, okay, people don't care.
So far, they don't care.
You don't care.
Half the country doesn't care.
You know, he's been a sex abuser, convicted, right? Nobody cares. He keeps moving on. His base just they look at him like he's Jesus Christ come back again.
Yeah, they definitely believe that. They definitely believe there's not even God. Well, maybe God, but then God, Trump, and then the rest of everything else. You're right, right there.
He's God's representative on Earth, apparently. To them.
Yeah.
So what's going to come about if they find out whatever they find out in this Epstein file?
Good point.
What's going to happen?
The reality is, and I've said this repeatedly, we don't need these damn files. There are living witnesses who are willing to come forward and testify in open court or before Congress to detail the abuse they suffered at the hands of these.
Women.
But yeah, you have to. I think the files will substantiate their claim. I know their personal conversation is their personal testimony will help, but it's to substantiate the abuse that they had. Similar to, I'm not going to compare, but there are people who didn't believe Sean Diddy did these things. There were certain people he's like, he couldn't have done that because of the image that some people have of him, similar to Bill Cosby. But when the evidence, the hardcore evidence came out or video, they're like, whoa. So that's where the Epstein file kicks in. It's just that to expose, not only to help those women who are victims of it, but also to hold those individuals, particularly the men, accountable for it.
And
I
change
think
But you
that's
have
the
to,
perspective.
But it's not going to change public opinion
Yeah,
about Trump.
there will
No,
be some.
Cool.
no, they
You
will
know what's
change the
changing
public
public
opinion.
opinion about Trump? I'm going to tell you what's changing the public opinion about Trump. The ICE agents and what they're doing out there in the streets. He said on day one, we're going to lower the prices. He said on day one, we're going to stop these. Well, all these promises that he made that, that he hasn't been able to keep up. I think that's what is going to deter people from him.
Every time I'm in ShopRite and I get a bill for $150 where it used to be $75 just a few
For
years
3
ago.
items.
For 3 items. I'll kind of turn to the person in line behind me and go, wow, this is amazing. I'm still waiting for day one to happen. I say it over and over and over again, but all the cashiers must know me by now. But I figured, hey, that's why you got to get people aware.
Go ahead. I see you on.
I think what's going to make people finally wake up to Trump, it's going to be economic, right? It's not going to be the Epstein files. It's not going to be the abduction of a democratically elected president. It's not going to be the threats against Greenland and threats to the allies. It's going to be economic. And at some point, the people who support Trump, they support Trump, I believe, for one reason, and that reason is based on skin color, right? I think when these people look at the fact that, wow, Trump has been in office a year, 2 years, and all these promises he has made, and none of them have come to fruition. And now I'm no better off than a black man across the street, or the Asian man down the street, or the woman down the block. I'm no better off. Then they'll come to the realization, well, when is this supposed to happen, Donald? When is America going to be great again? When are we going to be able to hold our heads high again? When is that going to happen?
I got one for you, Ron. You know what's happening? We're becoming woke.
But everything woke and all this is all this is all our language. Everything all that is us.
Now, here's the question. If you ain't woke, what are you? I mean, what are you?
Asleep.
Asleep,
yeah.
And you know what bothers me is every year, like Dr. King's birthday was just on the 15th, and they celebrated it yesterday. Everybody talks about one particular speech. I have a dream. Nobody wants to talk about Dr. King when he woke up and he started to recognize that, look, maybe my approach was not correct. Maybe America that gave us a check that came back insufficient funds, maybe America's not going to change. Maybe my tactics have to change. Dr. King was now talking about the war in Vietnam and poverty around the world from a global perspective, not just what was going on in this country. And that's why Dr. King lost his life, because he began to...
Sounds like another guy I know. What's his name? Malcolm X.
Right, exactly. When it becomes a global issue, when Malcolm went to go before the United Nations, he became a threat. So both of these great leaders had to go once they began to relate to people across the racial spectrum. And they began to realize, yeah, what he's saying is right. Poverty is poverty, whether you're in Bangladesh, whether you're in Vietnam, or whether you're right here in the deep South. Poverty is poverty.
Because you know who we've been fighting ever since the Civil War? The Confederates. They were fascists, just like the fascists we're fighting now. The 1%. Nothing has changed. These are the same people that we're fighting. And that's why we keep talking about Donald Trump did this and Donald Trump did that. He's just the front man. There's a whole movement behind him. And they're the ones we should be talking about. And that's why the GOP, all these legislators, they're afraid. A lot of them, they've told Mitt Romney, they're afraid to vote to impeach him. They're afraid to vote for this or that.
Well,
they know the power behind Trump. Right. Trump is just the front man. He's the cult leader. But the power is these fascists.
Trump don't have the power. We already discussed that. We know there's people behind him that got money, like the Heritage Foundation, and there's a few other people.
Yeah, it's a pro-fascist movement. McCarthyism in the 50s, they almost took over then, but they got beaten back. And then 30s, they tried to assassinate FDR. You know, there was a whole plan to assassinate FDR in 1934.
What happened to Lyndon B. Johnson, huh?
And one of the leaders was the head of General Motors. He was one of the leaders, and they hired a retired Marine Major General Smedley Butler because he had helped overthrow governments in South America. They hired him to organize an army of about 50,000 veterans. 1934 would have been after World War I, before World War II. There were people that were still looking for jobs. He was supposed to get an army of 50,000 to secure Washington, D.C. while they established a new government. This was a real concrete thing. And he reported it. He said, oh, my God, I know a coup when I see one because I've helped run them. So he went to the Justice Department, reported it. They investigated and found out these plans were for real. And, of course, once the New York Times covered it front page, but once they went to the head of the CEO of the General Motors and all that, know what they said? No, we wouldn't do that. And it all just kind of died off. Yeah. But it was a real thing. This is a movement that has not gone away, and it popped again.
Look, it's like I told you in the beginning. The South, the ideology of the Confederacy never went away.
Nope.
That Southern ideology never went away. And that they were allowed to do what they wanted to do covertly.
And
they did it behind the scenes.
They welcomed them back into the federal government.
And when they did that was a deal that they made, but they had to remove the National Guards that were protecting the African Americans, you want to say, that were protecting them. Once they moved them and got them back, then it opened up the door. The Ku Klux Klan went, they did what they wanted to do. The Confederacy came back to life.
Oh, because of Vice President Johnson that got put in.
Look at it. It's still coming on. They're growing.
Everything.
That Confederacy ideology has grown.
Because they were the
But you know something? But you got to understand something. The real threat was the North, not the South. Because let's be, where were the economic centers? Up north. Who invested in the slave ships? The Northerners. Who invested in the manacles, the shackles, the ships, insured them? The North. Who started the banking industry? The North. Who profited most from slavery? Where did the South send their money to invest? Up north. Who could have ended this practice years before? The North. And let's be realistic. Wall Street isn't named Wall Street just by accident. It was an open-air slave market. They built a wall around it to contain the slaves. So the North was the real threat. In fact, who was it that entered into the agreement that became the Great Compromise? Who did that?
New Jersey. But listen, like I wanted to say is that when I say the Southern mentality, I'm talking about the Confederate mentality. So when we talk about the Confederacy, I'm not containing it to the South. It's all over the country. Doesn't matter where you go. If we got people in the North that have that Confederate mentality, they're going to do what they do.
A lot of them here.
A lot of them here, Pennsylvania, they have that Confederate mentality. So it doesn't matter where they are. You see, it's what they do where they are. Like you were saying, you go to Wall Street. Why was it named Wall Street? We already know that downtown Manhattan, man, that was a big burial site for slaves along the Bowery. They found how many bodies, right? Corpses all around down in New York. So it didn't matter where you were. They conducted slavery all over the country, anywhere that they had so-called civilized Christians. See? All right, guys, we're getting really close to the end here, and I'm going to have to say we're going to be out in a minute or two. So Michael, thank you very much for coming on, and it's always good to have you on here on this show, and anytime you like to come back on, it's greatly appreciated. You know, brother, when it's dark out, it's hard to see us, man. You got to put a light on.
I'm driving at night.
You got that. I can see your teeth. You know.
I can't do it. Can't do anything. I didn't expect to be out this late. I
You
definitely
the
did not
man,
expect.
man. I'm just, pulling your chain, man.
He's a Cheshire
I know.
cat.
Yeah, just that Cheshire cat thing. Okay. Yeah, like I said, it's about time for us to leave. And thank you again, Michael DeRosier, for coming on. It's always appreciated.
Speaker for
That you're
politics,
always a
always
friend
available.
and you're always a guest and available to us on the show. Okay. And my man, you know what time it is. It's time to be out. So we're gonna do this here. Miss Linda and I, we're gonna close this out, and I'll catch you on the other side. Ashe.
Ashe. Okay.
Hey, Linda. Okay, so this particular time of the show is time for closing out.
Okay.
So the way we close out is the way we should have started. We generally start the show by saying that we're grateful for something and to say what we're grateful for. So I got to say, and I thought about this for a minute because you were coming on the show, this is all your fault.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Well, and I'm grateful to you for it. Look, when I met you, what was I doing?
Down at the outside the polling place.
Going to vote, right?
Yeah.
Right? Next thing I know, I'm standing on the line with you, right? At the polling booths, right? Then all of a sudden, I'm down at the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
Now here's my camera.
I recruited you.
Yeah, now here's my camera coming into play. Oh, I'm everywhere with the damn camera. That's your fault. And now I'm doing this as my community service.
Good.
So
I'll
your
take the
fault.
blame.
So I want to give you your props and say thank you very much. Again, we're going to close out the show. I told you what I was grateful for. So everybody, every day that you wake up, you should find something to be grateful for. Like I tell you, you wake up and you take a breath of air. Thank God for that. Thank somebody for that. Whoever you believe in, whatever, I don't care if you're Islamic, Jewish, whatever your faith is, have faith in something and say thank you and be grateful that you're here today. It's a blessing that you get to take that breath because everybody doesn't get an opportunity to do that. So here I am, Kendall Stevenson, and this is the Politrcs Show, and we're coming to an end. As we always say, peace, which means Hotep, and Ashe.